Well, we've been talking a lot about Batman the Caped Crusader, and I think the biggest thing about this show that's going to be awesome is its setting. Let's take a couple minutes to talk about the 1940s setting for Batman the Caped Crusader, why this is a perfect story idea for the character, and what changes we might see. Now, before we do that though, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, and ring that bell for all the updates. We do daily Marvel and DC videos, and we want to be your place for all the superhero news, but we're going to bring it to you truthfully and transparently, so you are in the know. Well, I know many of you, like me, are pretty excited for Batman the Caped Crusader. We've recently got a first look at the upcoming series, and it has been the talk of the town. Now, we know this show is being developed by Bruce Timm, and his previous Batman show, Batman the Animated Series, well, it definitely had a classic flair to it, but this time we're going full 1940s. This show is going to be a period piece rather than focusing on a very modernized version of the Batman. Now, there's a lot we can expect from this that's going to be quite different than what we're used to in some of our other contemporary shows, especially modern adaptations of the Batman. This is 1940s America, and that world was harsh, poverty-ridden, people with very limited resource, and a full dose of post-war upheaval. This means the crime in the society that this version of Batman is walking into will be quite different and something we may not be used to in previous shows. Gotham is typically portrayed as a harsh place, but this is going to take that to the nth degree and be something unique, setting the tone and the need for a crime fighter in the city. Now, we do know the animation style is going to reflect the 1940s aesthetic, and I think you could look to some of the classic Superman cartoons like the Fleischer films to kind of get an idea of what this aesthetic will look like in motion. Now, not only will the animation be different, but Batman's approach and technology will also be completely different. Batman is known for his gadgets, and I'm sure we're going to see those in the show, but it's pretty clear to me that this version of Batman, even though he'll still have a Batmobile, it's going to reflect this era. Don't expect grapple guns and rocket cars, but maybe some classic versions of the Batmobile, Batarangs, and simply brawn and brains. Batman's costume will also be much more simplistic than some recent iterations and is definitely not a heavily armored version of the character that's become pretty common in modern day. It seems to reflect the Batman the Animated Series version of the costume, and honestly, that totally works for me. Now, I also think this version of the Batman's alter ego, Bruce Wayne, will be influenced by this world he lives in. This version of Bruce Wayne will be living in the aftermath of World War II and all the impacts from that conflict. Now, how old displaces Bruce and whether he'll even be a World War II veteran, well, that's completely up in the air and something I hope the series creators actually take advantage of. Now, we all know Bruce Wayne is deeply damaged, and I suspect that will be no different in this series, and I'm sure they're going to keep the classic origin. But with this take on Harley Quinn, we might see a completely different villain. We already know this version of Harley Quinn is going to be a psychiatrist and therapist for the socialites of Gotham City. That means Bruce Wayne. I actually think she's going to take on a very Hugo Strange type character in the upcoming show, and this seems like a natural progression of the character, especially given the re-envisioned environment. A Bruce Wayne in therapy seems to give us an idea of how disturbed and maybe damaged this version of Bruce is, and combine that with the era and how mental health, well, wasn't taken as seriously as it is now, it could make for a very interesting take on both Harley and Bruce. The show really aims to capture the absolute essence of this era of comics while adding a little bit of an extra of noir twist. Pretty clear the series aims to avoid modern trends and remain true to the origins of the character. Batman made his first appearance way back in 1939, just on the doorstep of the 1940s, which is when the show is set. So I think we can look to that classic version of the character on how he's going to deal with most of this version of Gotham, and maybe even how some of these villains actually operate. I got news for you guys. Batman was much more rough and tumble in the 1940s.